Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Please comment if you can hear me. Okay. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Okay, cool. Yeah, the high-rise visualization with D5 Render 2.10. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm Tara from D5 Render marketing team, and we're really excited to dive into today's session, especially with the release of D5 Render 2.10 and the powerful new features it brings to archivists. Yeah, here's the quick look at what we'll cover today. We'll begin with a short introduction, followed by a deep dive into best practices for high-rise rendering using the 500 2.10. And then we will move into a live Q&A session where you will also have a chance to win a little something through our lucky draw. So yeah, you can upload your best renders in social media, tag us, and we'll select one to win the 3 months of D5 Pro. All right, let's kick things off with a brief overview of D5 Render. D5 is a cutting-edge real-time rendering software built for professionals in the AEC industry. It's been recognized as one of the top architectural rendering tools on G2, and 7 out of 10 of the world's largest architecture firms are already using D5. And we are proud to be the first in the AEC space to integrate AI capabilities directly into the rendering workflow. And with the new real-time path tracing in 2.10, the results are more photorealistic than ever. And now let's turn our attention to our guest firm for today, Aedas. Aedas is a global architecture firm known for its deep cultural understanding and its work in architecture, interiors, urban design, and master planning. With over 1,000 professionals in 13 cities, Aedas has remained in the top 14 architectural firms globally for the past 20 years. And with that, I am thrilled to introduce our guest speaker for today, Eduardo Pereira. Okay, let me bring him to the stage. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi there.
Okay, so yeah, Eduardo brings years of experience in high-rise and large-scale urban design, and today he will walk us through how he uses D5 Render to transform complex architectural concepts into clear, compelling visual stories. And yeah, here's what we learned today. We will start with like contextualize the scene, detail the roads, bring streets to life, and then speed up your workflow. So yeah, with that, let's get into the demo. I will now pass it over to Ed to walk you through the process. Okay, over to you, Ed.
All right. Thanks, Dara, for the introduction. So hi, everyone. I'm Eduardo. I'm an associate here at Aedas. And I'm excited to be here today to share how we can use D5 Render in some high-rise projects. Particularly in this case scenario, we'll be looking into how we use D5 to transform daytime scenes into night visuals with a bit of a cinematic mood. We'll walk through the steps that we take in lighting, material detailing, assets, post-processing, and all from a practical, real workflow that we also apply. So for the first part of this kind of demo, we're going to look at setting the scene. So in front of us, we're looking at a day to night conversion opportunity. It was a wonderful day render of this high-rise office building. And you can see that there's a multitude of objects and things going on. But to keep things simple, it is actually quite a clean daytime scene based on a scene express, which are available on D5's many resources. This is the base we're going to be working with to create the dramatic night scene. We'll go through the custom and day and custom night features. We'll go through moonlighting, HDRI tweaking, and exposure. But the thing is, we're not really going for absolute realism here. We're looking for a little bit of control. We're looking for setting a tone and telling the story. So I'll go ahead and jump in. So in this scene here, we have the model being derived from SketchUp. It's a very simple and straightforward one. There are a few textures that have been applied. and a very clean and clear context, right? So I've got this in live sync directly connected to SketchUp, and I've got my scene here set up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at my environment and trying to understand what kind of lighting scene that we're looking at. And you can really see how quickly you can adapt different day qualities to the building. But going back to what we're trying to do is we're trying to turn this thing into a night scene. So I'm going to go ahead and boot us into a custom daytime and custom nighttime, right? I'm going to turn off that custom daytime, go straight into night. And we're going to boot up really quickly the moonlight intensity up to about 8.5. It's not an exact science. It's just about what suits your scene, right? We're going to bring up the moon size as well. And let's bring that moon into our view. So I already have a bit of a feel of where these things need to be. So I think about 44 here, maybe about 280, and there's our moon coming into play. And you can see that as I adjust this slider, it just comes in and we place it where we want it to be for the composition. You can even go into the moon phases, which is pretty incredible too. So I'm going to say that I'm happy with that, and I'm going to leave that in position. I'm going to start looking a little bit more into the stars as well, the starlight intensity. I think that's a really cool feature that we can bring in. And I'm noticing that my model still is quite dark, right? So we're going to bring in, and it's a bit of an angled approach to this, and we're going to add a custom daytime, but put the intensity quite low. What this will do is help us bring a bit of backlight to the image, right? As you can see, it's starting to come in here. I'm going to put this at -4, and I'm going to put this at about 3. Let's say the azimuth at 0. Okay, cool. Give me a second here, guys. I'm just referring to a few more items I can adjust. All right, so you can see that as I'm adjusting the sunlight here, the impact is not directly on the building. It's more of this kind of soft backlight that I'm looking for, kind of in the distance, right? All right, I'm going to go ahead and start scrolling down. So you can see that we can also control the weather, the clouds, the fog, the wind. I think in this case, I don't require these effects, but you guys are more than welcome to explore that in your own time, okay? There's also this wonderful Milky Way function. I'll just kind of flash this on the screen here. You can start seeing it pour in and create that really cool effect, but I don't think it's for this particular scene right now. I'll let you guys have that creativity to look into. Now, once we've kind of set the base foundations for our lighting and our clouds and all of that, we can come in and add a few more clouds there. We can start looking at the effects here on the top right-hand corner. So in this effect area, we can start immediately doing adjustments, almost like what you would do in post-processing, right? And looking into creating a little bit more exposure for us to bring the building up and awake. So he's waking up now into an evening scene. We may want to look into a bit of the contrast as well. So I'm just going to adjust this here a little bit. Again, a lot of this is feel. It's not an exact science. Slope, I think I'm okay. Shadows are also all right. Highlights, I think they're okay too. I think they're all right too. So now we kind of set the scene that it's an evening time, right? I might turn this down a little bit, maybe 2.1, and maybe this a little bit less. Very minute. All right, let's see here. What else can we look into? There are a lot of additional aspects that you can explore with tint, with the bloom and lens flare, vignette as well. You can come in and start creating that mood around your frame. I do like to do this too in certain scenes, especially for this one. For the tinting, I might just turn that down a notch. And the bloom, I'm gonna turn that down a little bit too. I don't want this to be too intense when I render this out. So D5 is really great at giving you as close as possible to what to expect on your output. All right, keep going here. Now, I think we're happy with the environment and effect. And now I think we can start looking into our lighting that we're going to make artificially to help really paint the picture and carve out those areas that we want to be brighter, that we want to highlight, and maybe some features and lightings within the tower. But before I move into that, I think it's really important for us to highlight that all this smooth workflow is also very dependent on your machine, right? So as a sample, I've just kind of put this here for those who are interested. We're currently using a GeForce RTX 3080, which is quite up there in terms of its performance. A lot of VRAM. We got 10 gigs of VRAM. We're running an i9 and 64 gigs of RAM, right? But I'm sure nowadays everyone's looking for that latest card, and those guys are high performers. But you can see that even though this is not the latest card, we are running D5 pretty smoothly and with no issues. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next section here about lighting this city scene up, right? So we're going to bring this scene up to life with custom lights. So this is going to include street lamps, signage, ambiental light, like I said. I'll show you a little bit more about what we've done for batch adjusting spotlights, IES profiles, and creating a group of lights to help bring that life into the building, right? So one thing I really like about D5 here is that it's not just us building lights. If I put them on display here, it's not just us building lights within D5. You can actually start creating them in your already familiar program. Let's say in this case, it's SketchUp. So there is a function here where you can click the D5 toolbar and it'll allow you to generate lights. I won't get into the details of this, but the result is that you can start to place using your own familiar UI in SketchUp, for example, to place these lights where you need them and multiply them as well. D5's UI is more of a more linear and plan approach, where in this case, I have a preference to group them and multiply them, and utilizing some of the powers from our other programs, whereby we can use things like, let's say, NROth random selection, and we can start to select random lights that we want to remove to allow us to have random lights on the office tower, to represent that life, that livelihood inside of that building. So in this case, I'm going to just select these. I'm going to shuffle them around, and it seems that I've selected a few here that I want to delete to keep it random. I'll keep that there, and we'll go back to our D5 scene. So I've currently turned them off inside of this layer, but I can go here to my filters and show those SketchUp lights come into play. Turn these off. And you can see how that kind of creates that randomness, that mood that we're looking for. And we can definitely come in here and start to play with the intensity of these lights and make them a little bit more subtle. They're a little bit strong at the moment. I'll bring that down a little bit more. And slowly you'll see D5 adjust and tweak more to our liking. Okay, let's say it's this. So furthermore, we can look into the kind of street lighting that we're looking at here, right? We can really quickly generate big planes of light that we need for the ambience. I can go here to add lights within D5, create a rectangle light, put it into a position that I'm looking for. I'll increase this size here. You can start seeing the module and nodule go in. In this case, I want to have a really long extended light. I want it to be a little bit wider as well. I can come in here now and start to increase the intensity of this light and adjust something called the attenuation radius, which is going to show me the reaching area of this light, right? So it's very clear now. You can see that light's there, right? We're going to tweak that because I think that's a little bit too intense. We can also adjust a little bit on the color and temperature. In this case, I want it to be a little bit more on the redder side to show that city life. I also want to bring down this intensity a little bit more. In this case, I want to go for Yeah, that feels about right. The little bit redness. Bring that up just a notch. Just a notch. So that's one lighting aspect we can do just for that ambiental kind of light. And if you want to come in and edit that, very easy to identify. Slap that number on there, increase the intensity, and you can keep on going. Okay. So from here, there's other things that I thought was really, really interesting about D5. I mean, we can look at these individual objects. So these are assets that you can get within D5 and place them in. Okay, so we got these outdoor items that we can look into. In this case, you can search it right away, or you can look into, lamp. Click into a street lamp that you need. And we'll just place, let's say, one right here. All right, and we'll just place it where we need it to be. I think we'll just pretend that we need an extra light over here. Now, sorry about this. Okay, let's say it's here. Let's go into my filters here. A bit easier. Okay. And you can very quickly go into this object. I'll just get a bit closer to this guy. Just duplicate this guy. You can come into this object, duplicate it really quickly, and you can actually select particular places in this thing and start changing the emissive quality of the light. So I'll go back to our scene there that we were working on. Right? It's roughly about here. You can start to see this light adjust ever so slightly. There we go. Start to see that glow coming through. And those guys with astigmatism, you can see these lights also sticking out as well. So this is a really great feature to quickly get that effect that we're looking for. I'm just going to turn it down for the sake of showing you. And if that isn't enough for you, you can even come in and create another spotlight and place it right on there. And this is where IES lights come in. We start to choose one that suits the light type, increase our cone angle maybe, and then, as mentioned before, the radius that it creates an impact. We can start to play with this intensity and create that spotlight. And like I showed earlier, you can just come in here and duplicate that really quickly and place it where you need it to be placed. All right, and it doesn't stop there. Even the objects, to my surprise, like the lights of the car are already built in and shown. You can turn this off and on, increase the intensity, and even change the color of the car. I mean, it's fantastic. You can do all these wonderful things, right? Another great thing about this environment is once you start getting lights in, you always want to start seeing reflections and really express those qualities of light. You can go back to our environment, look at the rain aspect and precipitation aspect, and start changing and increasing the amount of puddle you have, and starting to see the reflections of the lights, the buildings onto there that really add an ambiance to your rendering. Really quick to do. Really, really quick to do. So this is all kind of falling into the section of filling up the urban context, right? You can get a bunch of different assets you need, like that lamppost, like that car, right in D5. We can go into your vehicle and just grab one when we need it and have that quick workflow that a lot of us are looking for. So you can come in here and look for large vehicles, maybe the common SUV or MPV. Get that into play here. For some reason, it's very small. Scale this guy up. And again, you can come in and have the same settings, the intensity of the light. You can come in and change the color. Let's say we want to do a blue one. Really, really wonderful. So I guess the only other thing you can do once you've got all this rain and wonderful stuff in is you're starting to add in decals. So you'll notice that there's already some texture coming in from the asphalt. You've also got these road lines here. There's actually really easy ways to do this within D5. We've got decals already as an asset that we could look into, whether it be road signs, lines in the road, or in this case, we're always looking for that little bit of imperfection, those road cracks that you would see. You can just load that in and place it into your render. This is really wonderful when you're doing those close-up views. You want to get a little bit more imperfection in there. That makes it feel a little bit more of the vibe. I'm gonna go ahead and maybe add a few more here just to show you a few other interesting ones. Let's see, we got some road signs. See what that looks like when we throw it on the ground, right? Got one here. A lot of these assets can be saved locally, so you don't need to load it all the way right away, which makes it even faster. So yeah, we can come in here and put it in the direction we need it to be in. And there you have it. You know, it's marked there. It's going to be affected by light. It's going to be affected by the rain. No issues. So we'll go back to our scene. I think there's another thing that we can do to help this. You know, there's also these presets of LUT profiles that we can look into to adjust. You can see how it kind of quickly applies a filter on top if you want it. You can really quickly apply that. Okay, I'm looking at the drawing and feeling okay. Yeah, I think that's good. So I think we can go ahead and let's just render this, and we'll see what the result is, and see the speed as well. We'll just do a quick one here, which gives us a lot of interesting options after export that we can look into. So let's take just a few minutes, maybe less, depending on your system, as I mentioned earlier. According to this, we're floating in the range of about 30 seconds. So I think the next section I'm going to take you into is once we've done this export, we'll be able to look at post-processing more in depth, especially with the use of AI. You know, D5 has been really wonderful to incorporate quite quickly useful AI applications, especially with post-production and editing spot areas and generating green areas where we want them to be, generating objects where we need them to be. And one of my favorite quick ones that I like to do is editing the image so that it becomes a little bit more in motion. We can very quickly make cars appear as they're moving with a blur in post-production. We can also make the light stream appear if you were to select it. We use a lot of this AI enhancer at the end of the rendering when we're closer to a final render in-house. And it really helps give a lot of extra depth in vegetation and in the textures that we use, especially when you're getting real close up, your interior views, your object views, really, really good stuff. Just give that another 10 seconds. Okay, great. So that took about 2 minutes according to this recording. And there's your result. You can start seeing the definition come in a little bit more. Start seeing the lights that we've just modeled up, especially in the cars, the rain effect and reflection. The lights that we've done dimly into the office building to bring a bit more life. I think this building's, it could be a little bit brighter, but for the sake of the exercise, just wanted to demonstrate the features that are available. Very quickly did this. So if I want to go into this AI editing part, right, I think this is really exciting. We'll go here and look at the source image that we've just generated in the preview box. Okay, well, I can use this example actually. Okay, great. So I'll make that full screen. So you've got a few options here on the right-hand side where you can do AI enhancement that I mentioned. You can look into style transfers. I think we know about that. In painting, and in this case, we're going to look at effects, right? Ooh. Okay. So I mentioned about post-production and motion blur, that bringing that life to things, right? So I'm going to go straight into motion blur. Use the selection tool. And I already have planned to maybe take that red car that we looked at and give him a bit of speed as soon as this thing loads. So you can see here that I'm able to select individual components of the car. I'm going to go ahead and select that and this and that. We're going to add just a slight angle to adjust and a little bit of weight of the blur. And very quickly, you know, you've got a very fast blur that you can apply and save right away. It's going to be saved here, webinar effect. And we're pretty much done. The next thing we do here is with AI enhancement, whereby you can come in here and adjust how much you want AI to come in and refine your image. I think in this case, I like to give the default. I think it's a very suitable number, but a little bit more won't hurt. But overall, these are really great tools for polishing the final image without needing to jump into another external render, right? Or sorry, an external third-party program. It's all built in. It's all wonderfully there. It's been a great way to quickly generate convincing images. Just give that a little bit more, just 25% here. We've tested this AI thing with a multitude of different types of views, interior views, as well as open spaces, buildings like this, even smaller scale items. And we found that there's a really big impact on interiors, especially when you get closer to those textures. You can start seeing those irregularities that you see in real life, which really make the image not feel so artificial sometimes. And it'll make you question if, hey, is that a render? I'll show some examples after this. Almost there. All right, ignore that. That's fine. So we can look at this now, our task that we've created. And D5 will come and give you a preview with a slider bar to see the before and after. Just give it a moment to load. There we go. So on the left, you have the before. On the right, you have the after. Let me see. At first glance, you can see the definition on the plants is coming through a little bit better. You can start to see a little bit more variety in the trees as well up here. Right, we'll flip that around. So quite a subtle, but there are some impacts on the detailing. You can see the moon isn't so softened up. You can see a little bit more detail as we slide across. A little bit more detail in certain areas as well. A little bit more softening on the green on the bottom here. If I were to slide by that. So if that's great, I'm going to go ahead and download it. It's been upscaled. I'll save. And it's going to be right there, happy in the folder that I'm working in. So before I wrap all this up, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys another feature D5 has introduced. If we're looking into our settings here, there's a preference section whereby we can go into rendering and enable this item called real-time path tracing. And noticeably on our end, we can see a difference in the quality of light and the way that light is moving through the space. This is especially evident in those interior shots. I'll show you some exports here really quickly that we had done to show the before and after. So here's an interior scene where path tracing is off. And if I were to flip over to on, you can see the quality of the light here has improved. I'll just go back and forth a little bit here. A little bit more brighter. It's capturing the light here on the top left-hand corner on this curve a little bit nicer as well, showing off that soft curve quite well. You can see on the flooring, which is another big part of this composition, showing the reflection of light a little bit better and more accurately. And overall, just makes that extra pop that you're looking for. Now, of course, any workflow is always worried about time, right? It's a very simple approach to do this, but the time is actually not that bad. When I look at the comparison here, let's say for that high rise, if we were to do path tracing, on the top here, you can see path tracing off at about 2K export. We're looking at a render time of about a minute. When we're looking at path tracing on, I mean, it's just added on about 30 seconds or less than that to our time. Now, I know this varies on machine, and it'll vary on the complexity of your view and light and all that, but it really goes to show, even though we expect that it'll take a little bit longer, it isn't that much more of a difference. So we're quite happy to have that quality come through with this new feature that is hiding over here in alpha that you guys can turn on and explore. So very subtle, very nice. And I guess I can move into my closing here. Tara, if there's anything else, and I guess in summary, this is kind of how we look at how we build cinematic night visuals in D5. When we look at our base lighting, all the way to the urban context, detail enhancement, AI finishing, and everything in between. And I hope this walkthrough gives you some new ideas for you guys to try out with D5 and explore in your workflow. Here at Aedas, we have adopted, some teams have adopted D5 in the last few months, and we found it very interesting to introduce into our workflow. And we hope everyone else also finds it interesting too. We'll move on to Q&A, and I'm happy to share more tips and answer anything that came up during the demo. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, actually, there are like a few questions that need to show like the demo. Let's see if we can show this. Okay, activate tail lights in motion blur. Yeah, how to do that? Because yeah, we can do that actually if the card is from the asset library from D5 render. Can you show how to do tail light for this one?
Yeah, I can do that. When it comes to tail lighting, there is a feature here. I will have to go through a re-render, but I can go here and show you where it is. If I go to my source and I go to effect here. So there's another feature here that I'm going to. There's an option here for motion blur where you can select, as I mentioned, specific areas in the asset and extend it out. So in this case, I know I've already rendered this out, but when you produce the the channels in your export, it'll allow you to select more precisely on the light or the wheel or the window. For the sake of time, I went for an overall quick render, but in the channels that allow you to select using this effect option, you can select on light and add that motion blur to create that tail light. I believe there was also one option that allows you to do that in painting, but I think you guys might have to explore a little bit more on that. I hope that answers your question. That's just where you have to go and do it. That's where it is.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Oli Screen. Yeah, nice presentation. We'll pass this video link to the associate Christian Hermawan. Yeah, start using the 500, sure. Okay, is there any way to reduce opacity of the 5 assets? Like, for example, people. Why do you want to reduce opacity of people? But yeah, is there a way to reduce the opacity?
Not that I know of. If you find out or if the feature gets released, please let me know. But there is a way to blur people as well. You can use the same effect onto the people that you're working on to create that blur effect. So I can give you an example here. For an interior view on the right-hand side, this character has a bit of a blur on there to give that appeal of that there's something hovering in the background. It's called too much attention. You can do that, yes. But opacity-wise, when it comes to, I would think, context buildings, you can very easily model that. If I were to go into SketchUp here and say that I wanted to build another building here, I'll just move SketchUp out. So we've got that building appearing now in D5. I will assign a new color to this, and I will quickly come in here, get material, and create a custom glass. I'll just go to, okay, if I go here and create a custom glass, sorry, I'm using one screen. I can very quickly come here and add opacity to these objects. Give it a bit of thickness here. Okay. Give me a second. And this is something I think a lot of people deal with all the time, right? Trying to get this to be that context that isn't too loud or anything like that. Hold on, yeah, I'll use another glass. I think this is being used up. You can quickly do that and get that to become a little bit more opacity, get a bit more, less reflection on it. Let's get a bit closer here. You don't want that reflective quality. You just add a bit more thickness. And get that gray look there. And that should be enough to take care of business. You can, sorry for the white error here. I think this is a bug, but you can see that gray box is very easy to come in and adjust. I'm just going to move them. You can see over here on the right-hand side now that it's just enough to ghost things and quickly apply opacity to objects or materials. Any more there, Tara?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you test out like creating vegetations on things that didn't had vegetations?
Sure. I can give an example here.
Yeah.
Let's say we have this park area, this strip of green that we're looking at, right? I would come in and I would use maybe a scatter tool. I think it's a fantastic tool to use. So I'm going to come in here and give this a platform and say that this is my area that I want to impact, right? I'm going to make this a little bit more green, just for the sake of the diagram here. There we go, bright green, nice and easy to see. So D5's got that toolbar here to the top. We go straight to scatter, and we can go to the scatter category here, and there's a bunch of different things that we can play with here. Let's just go straight for a simple one that I've already downloaded, which is the Flower Garden Combo 14. And I can quickly come in here, and D5 identifies this surface as unique for this scatter. I can go in and create that. Just give it a moment and it'll load in. So this tool is really useful because it'll eliminate that need for you to come in and constantly, place and rotate and all those funny things that we have to do as designers to get it just looking a bit more realistic, right? I'll put this into a day scene for you guys really quickly here, so you can see some of the quality of the grass and that randomness. And you can come in here and edit. If you don't like some of the plants, you think they don't suit your design or your idea, you can come in and adjust them here on the right hand side. You can delete complete ones, you can rescale them. You do a lot of things. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay, another question. So for AO, we usually use AO for interior, but what about using this for exterior? Is it useful? What do you think?
For AO, yeah, the AO stuff can give you all those light qualities you're looking for, but sorry, for those who don't know, AO is ambient occlusion. So it has to do with simulating soft shadows and reflecting lighting. I think D5 already out of the box gives you a very good lighting quality. We're looking at it right now, and you can start to tweak with AO. You can come in here and start showing the preview and understanding where your light is, but that's a very in-depth kind of render you're looking at. I think it can be useful for those really, really final renders, but out of the box, I think it's great. It tells a story pretty easily. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have answered most of the questions. So yeah, let me give you this one. Yeah, thank you, Ed.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, if you wanna get like the 14-day D5 Pro trial, you can scan this QR code, submit, and yeah, try D5 Render on your own. And if you haven't already, don't forget to claim your free pro trial and explore at D5 Render. So just download, it's free. Yeah, I think that's most of it. Yeah, any closing statement from you, Ed? How do you feel about using D5?
I have so much fun using the program. I think there's so many wonderful things to explore that I wasn't able to cover in today's allocated time. I'm really excited for everyone to find out more about it, and I personally enjoy using D5 very much. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to showcase some of the features of D5 to our audience today.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Ed, and the Aedas team for making this possible. So yeah, I think we can end here. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys. Thanks everybody for your time.
Thank you. Until next time. Bye.
All right.
See you on the
Bye-bye.
next station.